Namaste, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Danny, physician, astrologer. Let me know if my sound is good. I've got the default microphone on, so hopefully it sounds amazing. Isn't that a fun intro? Oh my gosh, I just have so much fun using the AI to help me with these little videos because I couldn't do that by myself. But anyway, that's so cool. All right. We have a great show today. It will not be as long as usual, I don't think. I have a little bit of decoding because we've been doing a lot of that. And I don't want to get too mathematical, but there is some math in this one. So I will get you there. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to explain it as best as I can. But we're going to look at pi today a little bit. Pi is super interesting. It's, the ratio of the circumference of a circle and its diameter, but there's so many different ways to get there. And they've calculated out to, I think, 1,000,000,000 digits or something like that. And then along comes this very interesting character of the Jain Academy, JAIN 108, who has created the Jain pi. And this mathematics isn't new. It's just really, really ancient, and he's working on it. And we're gonna compare and contrast, just like we did last time with the Keylontics and the Fibonacci energy. Found out that they were almost precisely the same, just turned a little bit. And we also kind of learned ways that might be better to go about spreading your science. They came off a little strong, kind of saying everything was broken, whereas this guy who's talking about Jane Pye doesn't seem to be that way at all. He seems to actually be quite authentic in his believing. So it's super interesting. All these different things out there. I had no idea that there were two pies. I mean, I had an idea, but I didn't know it went this deep. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And of course, we're going to go over the astrology of this full moon. Can you guys feel it? Can y'all feel this amazing wave of energy heading towards us? I mean, it's buzzing. It's amazing. It's crazy. And mirrored. Okay. Let me see if I can do something about that. It's very strange. Video, mirror camera. There we go. There's me. You can see two different sides of me. I don't know. Which one do you like better? The mirrored version of me or the real version? So at any rate, yeah, so we're going to do that. We're going to go through the astrology of this full moon. It is so mystical and juicy, all this Pisces energy that we have right now. The only thing holding us down into the world is literally the Virgo moon. That's it. Just the Virgo moon. So, and the moon is a magical, mystical, intuitive, emotional energy, right? So it's just crazy. There's very little tying us down to the earth right now. So just be very careful out there, guys. And, kind of laugh if you can. Just remember it's all a movie and you're just here to pass through and move on to the next thing. So who do we have today? Let's see. We have 22 in the chat right off the bat. That's pretty good. I can tell you guys are excited. I can feel it. Seema Dragon's here. Hello, my friend. Yeah, cool intro. Yep, Ultimus, I think I fixed myself. I was wondering why it looked weird on the monitor. I thought maybe I was just tired or something. But let's see. We also have Christine Yan. Hello, hello. Angela McGee is here. Ancient Wisdom is here. Lori from Washington. Look up astrology. Everybody say hello to Miss Lori. She's always here. And Ultimus, always here helping me out. Silvana B is here. Step into the Flow is here. Sprout Queen is here. All right. Cool. Well, welcome everybody. This should be pretty fun. Like I said, a short presentation, little bit of decoding, little bit of math, mostly astrology. I want to point out a few things to you before we get into this astrology to help you as well that we've already done on other videos. I will show you where you can get that. And you can also customize it because I did shorts this month. So yay. So I'll show you where to go with that. We'll look at the sky. Let me do some announcements with you all because I have an exciting announcement today. I have finally nailed down the date for our final planetary class for the basic instructions that we do at Stellar Foundations, and it is Chiron, the Wounded Healer. This class will be on April 7th at 6 p.m. my time. And that link is below in the description if you are interested in checking it out. It's going to be a really good class. It'll probably be about 2 to 3 hours of live instruction. You will be provided with a resource document that you can use for your reference for, looking at your own chart or other people's charts. And then there will also be a Chiron meditation. And this one's going to be pretty powerful. I've already had some very intense downloads on it. I just have to sort of sit in front of the studio and make it happen. So we're going to have a brand new frequency that we haven't used in any of our other meditations, and they are all guided by me. So all of that is to come, but you can sign up and get your space in that class. Everybody that's in Stellar Foundations, I already enrolled you, so don't even try to pay for it, okay, because you're already in the class. And then those of you that are having trouble getting into your previous accounts, I will help you. I'm just doing a lot today. It's been very busy. Like all of a sudden, everything's just sort of picking up. Stellar Foundations, we're going to do a new group starting at mid-May. So if you guys want to get ready for that, I'll be offering a special price for that. Stay tuned. Also, readings, links are below if you need a reading. They've been really powerful. These eclipses are affecting everyone differently. So if you're not getting it from me, get it from someone, or at least sit down and map your energy out, because this is the week. This is the week we've been waiting for. We have the full moon in Virgo, the pi moon. Then we have Mercury going retrograde, literally like an hour after the full moon. So we are feeling the beginning energies of that as Mercury's in the shadow period. Things are going to get crazy. Okay. So you really have to pay attention to what you're doing. Every step you take should be mindful. Every word you say should be mindful. Every keystroke should be mindful during this Mercury retrograde, because it's not just Mercury, guys. It's also the moon energy. We have the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. And then we have Venus in retrograde right now too. So a lot going on. How are you all feeling it? Y'all feeling pretty good? Looks like Heather's here. Let's see. Awesome. Oh, hi, Heather. So good to see you. Awesome. Good. Hopefully you guys are handling these energies pretty good, especially if you've been following me for a while. You kind of know it's like, just go with the flow. This is chaos energy that's coming. That's what these retrogrades do. They just sort of, there's like an influx of energy. So of course there's going to be chaos. So just how do you want to manage that? Do you want to do it mindfully and with intention, or do you want to just kind of let it move you? It's up to you. Either way is fine. I like to know it's coming. So all right. Good. Okay, let me share my screen, and I want to show you a few resources. Then let me pull it up first. Show you a few resources that you can go to for your own knowing for the next couple weeks. Shorts. Okay. All right, let me share the screen now. Entire screen. Let me make sure my mic is good. It's good. Do you guys want to see me or do you not want to see me? I guess I'll keep my face in there. Okay. First things first, I want to show you where you can get a little bit of personalized information for this eclipse. It's already been done because we have been working relentlessly over the last couple of months to make sure that I understand how these energies are going to be affecting you guys. If you go to my channel and you go under shorts, you will see the latest 25 shorts that I've done. All right. Now, the first set we did about 2 weeks ago during the new moon. And I told you by your sun sign how this new moon was going to affect you and what area of your life you need to focus in. So, for example, I'm a Cancer sun, so I'm going to go over to this short and I'm going to click it. And it's like a 2 to 3 minute just blurb on how this particular lunation that we're in right now, this full moon that's culminating on Thursday night, Friday morning, that's what I need to listen to right now. Okay. The second thing I can look at, we did this last week, was where your natal Pisces is in your natal chart. So Lori put the link to the free chart calculator at the top of this chat. Maybe I'll grab it and pin it for you guys. That way, you can see what house your natal Pisces is in. So I'm going to pin that right there for you guys. So for me, my natal Pisces is in my 10th and 11th house. So I'm going to look for that video that says natal Pisces in the, where is that? Right here. So I would do 10th house right here. I would click on this and that would give me the Venus retrograde energy. Okay. So if you, and this will also give you the Mercury and like everything. So I would click on the 10th house and then Cancer sun, and then that would give me about 5 minutes of personal readings. If you're not getting an actual full on personal reading, that's really the best way you guys can do that right now. Okay. The other thing is if you want to decode, you need to go to this cipher page, decoded.co. Logan of Decode Your Reality and Jordan with Waters Above Crypto created this site for all of us, for you, to go and play with these ciphers. There's hundreds of them. They're amazing. I like the Phi cipher for astrology. This is the golden ratio expressed out to the 26th or 25th decimal digit. And so anytime we put a word in here, we get a number. So for example, if I wanted to type in, I think it was 13, 13 is 33, which is important for the decodes that we've been doing. Okay, so I encourage you to check that out. The other thing I found, this is really fun, is ChemSpeller. This was sort of a new discovery. So if you actually want to spell words with the periodic table, you can go ahead and just put your word in here. Now, you won't always get a periodic table element. There are certain words you just can't spell with the periodic table, but this ChemSpeller will insert an electron or a proton for you. And that's pretty cool. So I was able to do Rust Moon in the periodic table, and I got this. I didn't go too far with the decoding on this. I just thought it was very interesting, and I wanted you guys to know about ChemSpeller. So I put a bookmark on this. I'll be checking this out for future decodes. That's pretty cool. Number empire is also pretty neat. You can put in any number and it will give you properties. So for example, 41 is the 13th prime, and 13 pops up a lot in these decodes, especially around Ophiuchus energy, around the pi and the phi and the fine structure constant. All those numbers are very important to the astrology that we've been doing. Then you can also go to the periodic table itself. Should I take these cookies? Why not? Oh, he's like cookies. You can go here and get all sorts of information, numerical and otherwise, about the various elements that are available. So I like barium because its atomic mass is the fine structure constant, and lanthium is the phoenix constant. So whenever I see 57, 58 pop up, I can automatically tie it into the periodic table. Bromine also has a tie to the fine structure constant right here. So we see 137, 138 a lot in finer physics into the Planck length. And we see 138 in historical cycles and also in planetary cycles. So very interesting. Then the last site is the irrational number database, subidium.com. You can go in here and put in any number and see where in the string of pi that number shows up. For example, 317 in, I think it's pi. Yeah, is the 137th decimal digit of pi. So you can see how that iteration of 137 takes you back to 137. Okay, so when I'm working with the decoding in the PowerPoint slides, these are the places I get my information from, just for y'all to have. All right, very good. Let's go into Stellarium and take a look at the sky on the night of the full moon with the eclipse. Oh my goodness. So this is stellarium-web.org, also a very nice resource if you want to watch the sky. It gives you an accurate representation of where the planets are in the actual sky. So for example, this is a very interesting full moon, guys, because it's at the very end of, or the very beginning of both of the constellations, Virgo and Pisces, and because our constellations are huge, they actually correspond with tropical. So what you will be hearing is a Virgo moon and almost a Pisces sun. Well, it might be Aquarius. It might still be Aquarius Leo, but I always like it when we actually agree a little bit. It's kind of fun. But there you can see it. There's the moon in the Earth's shadow. And this is the only thing that's grounding us in any earth signs. It's this moon right here. Oh, and Black Moon Lilith, of course, which is also another very mystical, feminine energy. So we are surrounded by this very mystical, very feminine, very like, what the hell is real type energy. And at the same time, I have a Capricorn moon, so my moon is very much into like structure and form, and it being in Virgo, there's this scientific energy. I have Pluto and Uranus down there. I want to know how everything works. I want to get to the very bottom of it and figure it out, which is why you're seeing a lot of math from me right now. But at the same time, my process describes this overly mystical energy because within the math, I'm seeing the mystical. And I hope you guys appreciate that. If you've seen the previous decodes and what you're going to see today, it's like, yes, there is a whole lot of mystical in the mathematics. And it's really, really quite stunning. So that's it. That's the only thing holding us to Earth. And we have Mars and the Aries stars of Gemini moving forward, moving into Cancer. This is a brilliant energy. So this means that our mental capacity is very heightened right now. It's active. The mind is constantly working and constantly thinking. I don't know if you guys are feeling that, but I definitely am. It's taking a lot more to sit in the power, to sit in the space, and to actually receive, because the mind is just constantly going right now. And it's all astrological. So what you do with Mars, depending on where your Mars is in your own chart, if you're feeling anxious because of your mind, do whatever physical activity will help let off some of that steam, and you'll feel a little bit better and the mind will think more clearly. That's what I do. I'll just sort of go ride on my wheel or go be out in nature, and then the thoughts come more clearly. So that's what's in the visible sky the moment of this full moon. Everything else is under the heavens. So let's go ahead and get into the PowerPoint. And what we'll do in there is, let me get here. We'll do a little bit and then we'll get into the chart. But I have to explain a few things that I talked about in the intro here before I get into that. And we're going to get the pen out and we're going to be a felt tip pen. Okay. Lunar eclipse, pi day. So there's a pi that's 3.141 and there's also a pi that's 3.144. So what I wanted to show you first was basically another key that I've been using in my decoding, and this comes directly from the movement of the moon. If you take that fine structure constant, that wiggly number between 137, 138, we'll just take 138, and you divide that by pi times phi, just the regular pi and the regular phi, you get a number just a little bit above number 5. If you divide that into 138, you get the exact length of the sidereal cycle of the moon, 27 days and 4 hours. Okay. The sidereal cycle means from the same point to the same point, regardless of phase. The synodic cycle is from new moon to new moon. So at this sidereal point, let's say this solar eclipse is happening at 19 degrees of Pisces. Anytime something hits 19 degrees of Pisces before and after that eclipse has a flavor of that eclipse energy. That's why this is important to understand, because this is where you get the 13 cycles, the 13 moons per year. It's not from the actual like new moon to new moon. It's from this point in space to the same point in space. Okay. The synodic cycle of the moon is about 29 days because it all just shifts a little. If you notice that new moon isn't in the same constellation every month, it moves forward a little bit into the next constellation. So pi and phi are very important for literally understanding our moon. And that's what we're here to talk about, the moon. The Fibonacci sequence is this amazing set of numbers that is calculated by adding the two numbers prior to it to get the next number. So you can see if you look here, it goes 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. And this is how we get the next number. So we add 1 to 2, you get 3, 3 to 2, you get 5, 5 to 3, you get 8. And we're counting down to Venus's star point using this. And we're right, this will be the same day right here as the full moon lunar eclipse is day 8 down to the Venus star point. Now these numbers, once they get bigger, will actually create the ratio 1.618, that golden mean, that golden ratio. And we see that everywhere in nature, which is why it's important, which is why I wanted to talk about chelantic sciences last time, because chelantic science is using phi. They are using the golden ratio. They're just using it sort of twisted in that fourth dimension of space that we talk about, that space you can't see. So they're one and the same, okay? So this is a fundamental structure and a fundamental unit in the way nature creates itself. But there are actually two kinds of pies. So I wanted to do a little side-by-side comparison for you guys, okay? First, we have the mathematical pi over here, and then we've got this golden pi over here. Now, 3.141 is an irrational number, meaning that when you take the circumference and the diameter and you do the math to create pi, to create this ratio, you will get a number that doesn't repeat. So it's a non-repeating infinite number that keeps on going, and they've calculated it out to a trillion digits. That usually represents a concept rather than an actual number. So like number 1 represents 1, it's one thing. Okay. But 3.141 all the way to infinity represents a concept. Now, interestingly enough, if you do base 12 mathematics, there is a repeating energy within pi, meaning that if you were to take pi into that chelantic cathartic grid and do the 12 base math with it, you wouldn't have an irrational non-repeating number. But this number is calculated, and it's been calculated in numerous different ways, taking the ratio of the circumference to the diameter of a perfect circle in a two-dimensional flat plane. Okay? It works perfectly in three-dimensional engineering. In other words, you can't take this 3.144 pi and use it for three-dimensional engineering. It won't work. You won't get the thing that you need. However, 3.144 may not be an irrational number in base 10. And it's done through a more of a complex process than just the ratio to the diameter. And if you want to know more, you can find the person that created Jane 108 or Jane Academy 108 and watch his videos. But basically, the formula boils down to a concept from taking the square of the circle, and the formula you get is 4 divided by the square root of phi, which is the golden ratio. So it's basically 4 into, or I'm sorry, scratch that. It's going to be 4 over the square root of the golden ratio. And you get 3.144, and you get a ton of zeros. Okay, so that to me is pretty cool, that it's not as irrational as pi in base 10, and that it's so neatly connected to the golden mean. Now, how does it help us? Does it work with us? Well, there's a subtle energy to it that if you kind of like bend space-time a little bit and put it into sacred geometry, it works really, really well. And it's associated with the dimensions of the pyramid at Giza. So I encourage you guys to go look at that. I'm a little less inclined to think this is something that we should, um, kind of put thumb our noses at. But there are some math nerds out there that have a lot of really nasty things to say about this, saying that this guy's a grifter and a hack. And so anytime I see that kind of energy, I like to take it apart and see really what's going on here. And I don't get that vibe from Jane 108. So I encourage you guys to check that out and understand that there are two different pies and the reason why. So for decoding purposes and for using that irrational string of numbers, I still like using this. So I'm going to keep doing this, but I wanted you guys to know about the golden pie. Now, I thought I got into a little discussion with my husband. He says, "You're doing too much math." And I said, "You don't understand. This actually ties into the energies that we are dealing with right now." And I wanted to show people about, by way of what I am going through. In other words, you guys are watching my process, and it directly mirrors what's happening in the sky. So I thought what I'd do is show you that. Here we have this Virgo energy, this mathematics, this analytics that's worked perfectly for millions of years. This is how we calculate pi. This is based in reality. This is what we can put our freaking hands on. But then we've got this mystical mathematics over here in Pisces. Like, wait a minute, what? It's associated with this sacred geometry and the golden mean, and it's got 144 in it. Tell me again, what? So there's mystical math, and then there's, the practical Virgo side of it. So hopefully you guys can see it the way that I am, that this is such a fascinating way to actually look at math. And so I thought what I'd do is I'd let the planets kind of vote for which pie they thought they wanted to use. And so I put the moon over here in Virgo because of obviously the moon's over here, but literally everything else is in Pisces. Okay. So we have Mercury retrograde, we've got Neptune, we've got Sun, we've got Venus retrograde, we've got our North Node, we've got Saturn. And then a little ways off, a little bit ahead of the crowd is Chiron. So everything's over here. This is the last solar or a lunar eclipse and solar eclipse we are going to have in these stars of Virgo and Pisces for probably about 10 years. So I think we should enjoy this. I think we should enjoy the exploration in wonderment about the amazing world around us and the amazing ways we can look at things that seem rational and the amazing ways we can look at things that seem mystical and switch perspectives. One thing I found out from Jane 108 that I thought was super interesting was that, and I didn't realize this, I had done the 138 calculations with Mercury, with Venus, with Mars, with Jupiter, and with Uranus, but I couldn't crack it. I couldn't figure out where Saturn fit into the 137, 138. I got the 400-year cycle with the Mayans, but I just couldn't quite find the relationship that Saturn had to the rest of the planets. It only had a relationship with the moon, which of course supports, David Icke's moon-Saturn matrix that we have all heard of. But pi relates Mars and Neptune. And then Saturn's orbit relates pi, Mars, and Neptune together. Saturn's orbit invokes pi twice. So it's the radius of the sun to Saturn is the circumference of Mars's orbit around the solar system. So I'll repeat that again. If we have the sun right here and Mars is out here and Saturn's way out here, Saturn's radius to the sun is the exact length of Mars's full circumference. So it's probably the pi is connected to them. And then the circumference of Mars's orbit is the diameter of Neptune's orbit. So this, okay, so Saturn's orbit, this whole big, I'm sorry if I'm getting ahead of myself, guys, but if Saturn's orbit is this big ring around here, that is the diameter of Neptune's orbit. So those are both related by pi. And I didn't know that. I thought that was super interesting. So that's thing one. And then I wanted to show you one more thing, and then I promise you we'll get away from this. But for those of you that are math nerds, those of you that are decoders, those of you that follow archaics, this is going to blow your damn minds. Okay, so listen up. Check this out. If you take this Jane pi, which is this over here, and you subtract regular pi from it right here, that's that expression, you get the term 1 over 412. Okay, so what? Watch this. If you divide that number into 1 over 137, so you take those two fractions and you divide them with each other, you will get this number, 412 over 137. What does that equal? That, my friends, is this expression. It is precisely 3 plus the fine structure constant. This is huge. This is amazing. That means that the difference between this sacred geometry and this perfect linear engineering is that little wiggle in the universe at that quantum level, that little flux that changes things just a little bit so it becomes mystical. And they actually have to adjust for this when they, when they're doing big things like space travel and stuff like that. They actually have to adjust things just a little bit in order for it to comply. So I thought that was really interesting. I wanted to share that with you all. You can rewind and check that out if you didn't catch it. But it's the difference, the ratio between the difference between Jane pi and the fine structure constant is literally 3 plus the fine structure constant. Amazing. It's very eerie, actually. So this is the lunar eclipse. This is the day we've been waiting for right here. Actually, this is the solar eclipse, you guys. Hang on one second. I didn't want to put this one in here. We're going to go to my Prometheus and look at it. It's just been like that. So do you guys have any questions about that while I pull up these charts? Let me go to my space. Cancel chart. Edit. Actually, you know what I'll do? We'll do this. Interface. Full moon. New chart. Aspects. All right. A little behind the scenes work there. All right. Okay. All right. So this is what we just saw in the actual sky before we went down that mathematical rabbit hole. I'm so sorry for those of you that are not math nerds like me. But there it is. There's the moon right at the cusp of Leo and Virgo, grounding us, holding us down into the earth around our south node. And this whole journey of the south node through Virgo, guys, has been about remembering where we come from, remembering the ancient trauma that we've been through, and being the last generation to pass it forward. I'm talking to so many of you right now that are like, okay, I've had this and I don't want anyone else to have this. And it's breaking a cycle. And what's so powerful about this transformation, for those of you that are in tune with it, is that it not only heals you, right? But it heals 7 generations ahead of you and 7 generations behind you. So the work that you've been doing, if you feel like you haven't been noticed, your team, your guides, your future generations are going to notice. And I've noticed you. I've seen you. I see it manifesting and rippling out into the collective. And I feel like we're really headed for a much better time. I think the next set of eclipses, they're going to feel much more joyful because our south node will be here in Leo. So we'll be able to remember what it was like to be, free and uninhibited and happy and not worrying about, the troubles of the world. And then our north node will be moving into Aquarius, which is futuristic thinking, which is technology, which is advancement, which is altruism. So I think collectively we're on this, the dark night of the soul goes down and into this, singularity of an abyss. And I think we're on our way out. I think this is the last eclipse that we have to kind of be in this darkness. But what a powerful darkness, huh? We've got Saturn here, we've got Sun here, we've got North Node here, Neptune here, Mercury, Venus, and then the moon's going to join over here in 2 weeks. And this is just the land of the unseen. This is everything under the surface. This is the huge, vast ocean, okay, the abyss of the mystical, where you can maybe see 1 foot in front of yourself. I don't know if any of you have ever done any scuba diving or have, been underwater where it's very, very cloudy and the visibility is low. But I always think of that when I think of Pisces. You never really know what's beyond the dust in front of you. And in fact, I recall one time I went scuba diving and it was a relatively shallow dive, like maybe 30 or 40 feet. And it was uber cloudy. I mean, you could maybe see 10 feet in front of you. But it's always fun scuba diving, so we loved it. But what was interesting is when we surfaced after the first dive and sat on the boat, we noticed bull sharks like swimming around, maybe about 40 yards away. They weren't bothering us, but at the same time, like when you're in that cloudy space, you can't know what's out there, even if it does mean you harm or it doesn't even know you're there. So at the same time, I don't want to sound gloomy or mournful, but it can feel like a dark place. And for those of us that are not tapped into these energies, tapped into the potentials of what they could be, we feel kind of lost. And so we look for other things to help us. We look at astrologers, we look towards mediums, we look towards tarot cards, we look towards the things that can give us just a little bit more light in front of us so that we can see. And sometimes we just have to close our eyes and surrender and let the wave wash over us. I'll use the ocean metaphor again. I live by the Gulf of America or the Gulf of Mexico or whatever that Gulf is. I live there. And when we go to the beach, there's good days and bad days at the beach. There's like really wavy, choppy days. And sometimes you can't, jump over the breaking wave. You have to dive in through and underneath of it in order to let it pass you by. Otherwise, it'll knock the wind out of you and take your bathing suit top off with it. So how this manifests for you is really important to know, like, where is Pisces in your chart? Where is all of this? If this is in your 4th house, then a lot of this stuff's going to feel really internal, like it is in this chart. But if it's in your 10th house or 11th house, it might be different. You might be expressing this in an outward way. So I encourage you to look at these shorts that I pointed you to, because wherever your sun is, it'll give you an idea what house this is happening for you, and then wherever your Pisces is will give you an idea of what this collection is going to mean as well. Every planet is direct except for Venus is retrograde, and then an hour after this full moon, Mercury will go retrograde. So we're real close. These are intense energies. If you guys remember that timeline I've showed you, it's basically a wave of chaos for both of them. And they're both in between the 2 eclipses, this lunar eclipse and then the solar eclipse on the 29th. So a real dichotomy here with this full moon. But I can recall, because my son's in Cancer, that this is very much an 8th house lunation for me. And it's culminating at this full moon. So I believe the advice I gave to my fellow Cancerians was that, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because there's been a time of quiet, a time of liminal space, of transformation. And so now the next cycle, the next new moon, will be moving into a 9th house energy where we move out and up and into the space of wisdom and knowledge. So I am seeing that. I am actually sensing that beyond this full moon for me is a light at the end of the tunnel. So I recommend that you guys listen to those so that they can give you your energy, which house you're focusing on. I love this trine between sort of Lilith, Pluto, and Jupiter. This is just expansion and alchemy and following your instincts, being guided by your soul. And it's trining back to the South Node. So is Uranus. So there's metamorphosis and transformation within this very tenuous, grounded, earthy space that's available to us. As the moon moves out of that space, though, there'll still be this trine back to the South Node. So it's really kind of standing in your power at the same time. I'm creating a new moon meditation that'll be available in a couple weeks, probably a few days before the new moon. That's going to be about grounding, I think. I think we all need to have that, kind of really root ourselves into the grounded energy so that we can connect to one another as we go through this crazy mystical time. It's so amazing. All right. Where are you guys feeling it? Let's do this. This lunar eclipse is also a blood moon, right? Because whenever you have a lunar eclipse and the Earth's shadow moves over the moon, you get blood moon. We get the number 71 here. 71 is the 7 of Pentacles in the tarot deck. And it's also the 7 of Diamonds in the cards of illumination. And that brings us to number 33. Oh, and look, it's the 17th slide. That's a reverse of 71. The number 137 is the 33rd prime. So we're tying this back into that little wobble, that fine structure constant. And then pi and phi is 33. So here we have pi, phi, the fine structure constant, all related to 33, all related to this blood moon. I went to the chem speller and I spelled moon with molybdenum, oxygen, and nitrogen. And I got the number 57. And I showed you at the beginning, 57 is lanthium, which is 138, which is the Phoenix number. It's a Virgo moon. So I was able to spell Virgo in the chem speller also. And that number is 195. If you do a tarot reduction on the sum of 195 and 57, you get 18. And 18 is the moon. So it's all connected, guys. And all these little decodes do is show you how connected it is. So once you finish watching one of these presentations and you're considering the astrology energy, and then you see these numbers, you might see 18 a few times, but you're gonna associate it to the moon, and it's going to be, okay, this is the lunar energy I need to think about or connect. If you didn't have those numbers, you'd still get the synchronicity, but you might have missed it because now you have the number. Lunar eclipse is 42. Saros cycle is also 42. Wait till you see the Saros cycle decode for the eclipse, the solar eclipse. That is amazing. But let's look at this eclipse Saros cycle number. There's a few things we can kind of decode in here. Number one, it's Saros cycle number 123, so 123. It is the 53rd of 72 eclipses within this particular cycle. Here is the 123. In this timeline we've been using for the last several months. We're counting down to this eclipse. 0, 1, 2, 3. These points mark when the moon is precisely at 19 degrees Pisces, which is when that solar eclipse is happening. So this was March 1st. We've already passed it. We're here. We are here. Okay, but that's the 321. It's Pi Day. Which is what we've been talking about. So that's interesting. If you take the numbers, if you take 3 and you multiply it by 41, which is the 13th prime number, by the way, this is 13th prime. If you multiply 3 times that, you get 123. Moon is 35, which is the mirror of 53. But intuition is also 53. And the moon speaks to our intuition. It speaks to our knowing. It speaks to that place inside of us. And it's grounded in Virgo right now, but not for long. So during this moon, we're going to have this. Actually, right now, it's probably in Cancer, Leo energy. But by the time we get to the full moon, it'll be Virgo. 53 is the 16th prime number. And sun is 16 in the Phi cipher. So we have sun and moon related to the lunar eclipse, and they're both related to the numerology. You can also take 72, and 72 relates to the star that Venus creates in her 13 orbits of the sun, 8 Earth years, and a 5-pointed star is created. So those are the numbers of the Fibonacci sequence, right? You guys remember me talking about this? This was an 8-year cycle. Completes this 5-pointed star, and it takes 13 orbits of Venus And these are numbers in the Fibonacci sequence. And remember, these numbers create that golden ratio right here. But the star also does too. Look at this. If you take this length and you measure it against this length, the ratio between these two lines, the green and the red line, is 1.618, which is the golden ratio. If you take the blue line and the green line and you do the same thing, you're going to get this number. If you take the purple line into the blue line, you get this number. So this is so interesting that the actual star, this geometric shape, this pentagram, encodes for the golden ratio also. The date, 3/14/2025, is 62. This is also the worm moon, according to the Farmer's Almanac. So I thought it was super interesting that worm moon also was 62 in the Phi cipher. It is card number 9 of diamonds on the date, which is also my birth card. So March 14th is the 9 of diamonds. It connects back to me with card 9 of diamonds. And 35 is bromine, which takes us back to the fine structure constant. So this is all just so amazing. This is the 73rd day of the year on March 14th. The 73rd card in the tarot deck is the 9 of Pentacles, which is the 9 of diamonds. You can connect these two this way. So that's interesting. And then 73 is the 21st prime, which is 21 is a Fibonacci number. You get that by adding 8 and 13 together, and that next digit is 21. And then, of course, if you spell Phi in the Phi cipher, it's 21. So I think that's everything I had for you guys today. Hopefully it wasn't too much, and sorry for being disorganized. It's just I'm feeling it. I'm feeling this Mercury energy increasing. I'm feeling the wave of chaos starting to descend. So how are you guys doing? All right, let's see. Oh, looks like you guys are having a conversation. Let's see if there's any questions in here I've missed. Okay, yeah, good. Christine asked me, do I have descriptions for Ophiuchus? Do I? Oh my goodness. I have all kinds of descriptions for Ophiuchus. I think if you go into your modules in the last week of that, of Stellar Foundations, you will have that document that you're looking for. Let's see. Let's see. Christine Yan says Jane Academy is an amazing place for education. Yeah, they do some interesting stuff, and their math isn't recent. Like I don't think that they're a recent channeling manifestation. K-Man asked, when you're speaking solar eclipse, is that in reference to last April? Yes, we have solar eclipses twice a year, and the one that was in Pisces last year in April was the total solar eclipse in the United States. And that one was very similar energy where everything was in Pisces and everything just kind of switched. So the solar eclipse that's coming up is on the 29th of March. Oh, you guys are telling K-Man what's up. Cool. All right. And K-Man, sorry, I do talk fast, and sometimes I'll say solar instead of lunar, especially right now, so I'm very sorry. This video is about the lunar eclipse, which is a full moon, and then in a couple of weeks, we are going to have a solar eclipse new moon, and I will be offering a meditation for that one, but that's in a couple weeks. Cool. Somebody's giving birth. Lisa says, Dr. Danny Logan, better watch out. You're getting good at this. Oh, he has nothing to watch out. His stuff is just off the chain. And the connections he makes are amazing. Plus, his focus is more of the sort of like religion and origins energy. Like, where do we come from? What does it all mean? And me, I'm just sort of exploring and going, hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. This is pretty cool. That's sort of my angle with it. I just think it's amazing. It makes me laugh when I do it. And when it brings me joy, I just want to share it. But yeah, I always thought it would be kind of fun to do a little roast of Logan, like a decode of him and do a little roast. But I wanna do it with him on the channel with me. And then Heather asks, "What's the sorrow cycle you're speaking of? What is the sorrow cycle?" So the eclipse that's happening at the degrees in Virgo, that is a certain number. So I can't we'll have to let me look at this chart real quick. I'll tell you the degree number of the moon. And then we can use that as an example. Where's my chart? There it is. Okay, so it looks like the moon is at 1 degree of Virgo. So the moon will not be at 1 degree of Virgo again in this cycle. So every 19 years it will hit this space, but then around the earth it will move around it like a snake. I'm actually probably going to do one of the series that I want to do in terms of the education this year is talk about the lunar cycle, not just the new moon to the full moon to the new moon again, but how it transforms as it moves through the zodiac and then its larger Saros cycle. Because each lunation in the Saros cycle winds around the earth like this, like a snake coiling around an egg. Kind of. It's really quite stunning. And the origin of the Saros cycle, that it usually lasts anywhere from 700 to 1200 years, the whole cycle. So of the 72 eclipses that are in Saros cycle 123, we are in the 53rd eclipse. And the first one was, so we're about 2/3 of the way through that entire Saros cycle. And each eclipse has its own number. So the Saros cycle for the solar eclipse is 149. And we'll dive into that too. That's super interesting. But yeah, the whole solely lunar interplay and these larger, more centuries long cycles are very, very interesting. So cool. Does anybody else have any other questions? Anything else you guys want to think about? I didn't want to take up too much of y'all's evenings. The time change really messes me up too. I don't like losing my hour at all. I would much rather leave the clocks the way they are, but no, everyone insists on taking away an hour and waking up early 1 hour to do everything. And I just don't understand it. So it takes about a week or so to get used to that. So I'm feeling very short of time since we've changed the clocks. I just feel like I'm catching up to myself every time I turn around. Um, So yeah, cool. All right, guys. So let's do this. Sign up for the Fellowship of 13 Signs. Definitely do that for me. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, even if it was chaotic and confusing. I appreciate that. Lets me know that I need to keep working, and I will. Thing number 3, subscribe if you're lurking. I want to also share this video. If anybody needs, a little help with the full moon, show them where the shorts are. Show them where this video is, and we can help everybody get through it. And then also sign up for the Chiron class. So April 7th is the day you can join us live. If you can't join us live, but you still want the Chiron class, you can sign up for it now. You just won't see the video until after we actually record the class. Benefits of doing it live. Lori can tell you, number 1, we do a little grounding meditation before we sit down and do the class. Number 2, we look at the astrology for the day. And then also there's a little kind of private question and answer for those that join the live session. So if you want to join the live, you can do that. If not, you'll get the post recorded version of it where you get Chiron through the signs, Chiron through the houses, and then Chiron in aspect with other planets, as well as the mythology and cosmology of Chiron. And Chiron rules Ophiuchus, guys. So this is a big planet, or not a planet, but asteroid that we want to know about. Okay? All right, my loves. Well, I will give you the top 10 reasons why you should study astrology. And then I will see you all probably on Friday because we have a lot more to talk about. We got to talk about Mercury retrograde. All right, guys, take care.